For this project, you're going to be exploring the idea of low relief using the material of cardboard. Now, we're keeping it fairly simple. This will be about a 4-day project. And the reason why we're not diving directly into something super complex or like really like technical material use is because I want you to really also be able to focus on navigating learning from home. You might have done this already a little bit in Sculpture 1, or you definitely did in Sculpture 1 last spring, but just refamiliarizing yourself with it and learning any new routines and things like that for the class. All right, so relief. Like that? Not quite. No, we're talking about relief sculpture. So we're most familiar with sculpture in the round, and that's where you can walk around the entire piece. Now, a relief sculpture is when the design is raised up from the surface, it's usually flat, while still being attached to the backing. It's usually wall mounted, right? So it's similar to 2D artwork, but the main difference is that there still is more dimension to it. Now, relief sculpture, there's a few categories, and we're going to just briefly talk about two of them. The main ones would be high relief, and that is where a large part of the sculpture, at least in some areas, is coming out of the background. And then there's low relief, which is what we're going to be focusing on. And that is also sometimes called bas relief. That is when the relief, the three-dimensional aspect, is just barely raised from the background. So here's another example. Many of us might be familiar with relief in this context where it's more like monuments and religious iconography, but we can also find relief in other areas in our daily life sometimes if we think about it. Decorative ceiling tiles can sometimes have relief on them. Decorative kitchen tiles or fireplaces might include relief. And coins are another example of relief in our day-to-day, or at least potentially. So I'm going to have you choose a subject matter from this list. There are, of course, many other places to start from. This just helps guide you so that you're not spending all your time making a decision. Remember, this is less about a big concept. I love a big, great concept project, but just for this purpose, right, that's not the main goal of the project. The main goal is to kind of get our toes wet in online learning this time around and just kind of, get going in that regard. You're going to need to have 4 layers, and I'll go more into this in the like how-to videos. But otherwise, you want to keep it kind of simple. A still life is when there's a bunch of things arranged, by the way, and I will show you an example of that right now. You can see right here, I created a still life with just some random things I had around the house, and I actually took quite a few photos, and I added a few things, and I took a few things away, so I played around with the arrangement, or otherwise called composition, and then eventually came upon this design right here as not too complicated, but it had a few layers, and it was visually interesting. And here is where I'm at right now with it. It's not 100% done, but you can kind of start to see where I'm going. You're going to be using cardboard or chipboard. So you can see chipboard is like it's made out of cardboard, but it doesn't have the corrugated backing, so it's a little bit thinner. And cardboard has a little more dimension to it. So I used cardboard because it helped it pop out a little more, but you could also use chipboard. So this is your task. You're going to be making this cardboard relief, and I will have videos on how to actually assemble it, how to think about your different layers, but this is just to kind of get you started on thinking about it. All right?